Iran's first position on stopping the supply of gas to Iraq. Things don't translate well. Ministry of Foreign Affairs Iran on Monday that the termination of exemptions from Iraq reflect a violation of law and crimes against humanity. This is Iran saying that the U.S. doing energy sanctions against Iran is violating international law. The country that finances terrorist organizations that attack America all over, all over the region and the area. How they build and give arms to enemies that try to kill us. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at this one. The audacity, the insanity of Iranian minister even saying, all right, we have not received a message from Washington so far. We will not accept negotiations under threats, intimidations, or pressure. He said, noting that the U.S. threat to use force violates international laws and exposes the nature of decision makers in Washington. I guess you've missed the many, many, many decades of rhetoric coming out of Iran about death to the infidel, how all Americans should die, about hiring assassins to go after our president. I'm like, supporting the Houthis that attack our ships. I mean, I don't even know where to go with this one as I read this one, other than, holy shit, Batman, you're stupid. I'm sorry, guys. The Iranian complaint just left me flabbergasted. Like, in what world? All right, U.S. gas move. Iraq's race to avert a power crisis. This is all about those sanctions against Iranian gas. They do go into what is needed to avoid it, and they talk about the temporary floating platforms. They talk about setting up many more power plants. This one's interesting because U.S. has gone full tilt with Iraq to remove Iranian influence and to build Iraqi infrastructure. This is actually very good for Iraq. I think they're still pretty surprised. So they are adding power plants as well, bringing in gas until they build the internal structures in Iraq for permanent. So they're bringing in all kinds of floating pipelines, et cetera, until they can build out the actual pipelines to burn Iraqi gas instead. So they are coming up with their interim plan and their long-term plan, and they're executing at the same time. We can even get into, it tells us just the number of power plants. That's it. They're adding more than 540 buildings / power plants, a third of them before this summer. This is not just to replace what's presently there. It's to bring it up to speed for a future, an industrial, technological future for the nation of Iraq. This is showing you the speed and the commitment that the U.S. has to Iraq being on its feet so it can have a new value. This is something that we did not see under the last administration. This is an all-out press to put Iraq into the forefront of the region. With that, we get those economic reforms and the restoration, as Soudani puts it. Higher value, guys. Lifting the purchasing power of all Iraqis is what he said. Official working hours will be suspended in Iraq next Sunday. Boy, this one has me scratching my head thinking the moment I saw it because of where it falls date-wise on the 16th. And I keep hearing so many things pointing to 17th, 18th, right in that time period. And then we get this. And I saw this piece. I was like, maybe I could be reading too much into it. But official working hours will be suspended. Why are they going to be suspended? The General Secretary of the Council of Ministries said in an official statement received by Shafak News Agency that it was decided to suspend the official working hours on Sunday, March 16th, coinciding with the anniversary of crimes committed by the Saddam Ba'athist regime against the Iraqi people, which included the massacres of Halabaj, Anfal masquerades, a popular uprising, the assassination of scholars, and the targeting of parties. So as they are remembering all of those crimes against humanity, they will be shutting down their government. What a great time to do something and make a massive change to put Iraq back on its feet. Government advisor, 2025 budget will reach Parliament before the end of Ramadan. In other words, it will reach it with its tables in the month of March. Economic reforms again. All right. A couple of interesting things from a couple of bond contacts. Everything very well positioned. the mass majority of money they're being told definitely moves in the month of March. This is their month for their redemptions. We do have a number of them with dollars, small dollars. My understanding is the bulk of the dollars move all at the same time on the same day. I'm getting that from 4 different bond contacts that are in different groups. They're all saying that the big dollars release all at once for all of them, and they are well underway in the processing and staging / whatever for that release. A couple of groups working hard. They're also being told this is their month. So I'm going like this, crossing my fingers that it's true, and we don't get a letdown at the end of this one, because boy, am I getting a lot of chatter right now. I know. Then the logical part says, yes, but we still need to take care of power. We still need to take care of this war, that war. We're never going to be in a perfect spot for this. So at some point, they're going to have to pull the trigger one way or the other. In other words, are we at an acceptable point for them to do this? All right, I'm just going to leave some of these. Now, I've had fantastic news over the weekend. Now let's see if it manifests. Texas artists, I don't have an update as of Saturday where they had a tentative opportunity to exchange some currency. They had not gone. They were still hopeful for Sunday, but I don't have an update to tell you. I heard this morning that British Petroleum signed a contract with Iraq. Yes, they did, for 4 of the fields in Kirkuk. Matter of fact, give me about 2 minutes. Yeah, 4 Kirkuk fields in addition to the rehabilitation expansion of the gas facilities in North Gas Company. Now, we are going to flash back to some comments made by Shabibi soon after where he was explaining what happened, why they reduced values, what really hurt the Iraqi dinar the most, and specifically named losing the Kirkuk fields. They couldn't support themselves financially because Kirkuk fields was such a huge portion of it. And here we've got the Kirkuk fields coming back online, plus some. In other words, they are massively increasing the production that was Kirkuk. So I thought that one was very, very, very interesting. Yeah, Karen, I'm with you. Now, this is better than normal for a Monday morning. Normally, Monday mornings are no news at all. And we keep getting a lot on the ISO 20022. The question is, are we going to get value change? We're watching it, seeing what makes sense. Oil's supposedly flowing through the pipeline, but I haven't been able to find a story this week. Rumors were they were cranking it up finally. On Sunday, they worked through, but we do have a piece in here. Where is it? Wait, let me see if I can find it. Okay, I had one in here. I got to figure out where that article is. Talking about the budget tables arriving. I was looking for it. Bob Hofer, no podcast on Monday nights anymore. No Monday nights or Friday nights. So no podcast this evening. William, I don't know. Stories are back and forth. Remember the stories when Kuwait went. The very morning of the stories said that they couldn't go for a while. 6 to 9 months before they had their infrastructure ready. They were talking about just isn't time to change things yet, and they did it that day. China, they ran 3 days worth of news stories talking about how they weren't prepared, how the rate was getting worse, how they were going to need to lower the rate to compete because they weren't making as many dollars or whatever. And then we're going back into the 1990s, the last considerable revaluation of the Chinese currencies. And they, within 3 days of just bashing articles about how they couldn't do it, they were going to need to go the other direction. In other words, they were going to need to deflate their currency, and then bam, it went up. So I'm not gonna get too caught up and going, oh my God, there's this going on, there's that going on. I can't do, they can't do it yet. I'm gonna watch.
Hello, everyone. This is Carpathia. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all the chosen ones who sent prayers for my recovery and healing over the past week during my illness. The prayer messages were far too numerous to answer individually, and the best way to recognize the myriad of beautiful prayers is to leave this message so each of you will know the depth of my appreciation. In the tapestry of life, there are moments when we find ourselves navigating through challenging landscapes with our personal lives and our health. And these times do their utmost to test our resilience. However, it is also during these times that the power of the loving connection we have as a chosen one community becomes abundantly clear. I extend my deepest gratitude for all the loving thoughts and prayers sent my way, as each prayer sustained me and I felt the comforting blanket of those prayers enveloping me, reminding me of the overflowing love and goodness within the hearts of the chosen ones. Your kind words and prayers have been a blessing beyond measure. Thank you for helping me heal. Love to all, Carpathia.
Forwarded from Adam Stevens. Earlier today, Rob Schmitt from Newsmax shared this on X. He is 100% over the target and exactly right. We are in March madness indeed. We are watching the controlled demolition of the Kabul money system. The full commencement has been going on but hit high gear today. Today saw $1.7 trillion disappear. There is U of the Com from protest team 17. That being said, this is happening to user in the RV and Nazara Jazara. The RV will come first as our US Treasury needs our currency to build up its liquidity for the Republic financial system to replace what we have been forced to be slaves under. I'm excited to see what we are seeing. It is confirmation of the global operation to rid us of the deep state Kabul. The RV is upon us, is much deeper than simply watching Iraq, ladies and gentlemen. The XRP rising phoenix and revalued currencies around the world are upon us. Rob Schmitt on X. Posted 12:04 p.m. 10th March 25. Yeah, the Dow is plunging. This is happening because we have a president with the balls to undo a globalist economic agenda that's decimated American wages and quality of life. This is the pain that comes from real change. It's much easier to just pass the buck. Kathy Barnett. Today's the day to buy. Forwarded from A to Z Dreams RV and XRP channel. People need to know that Vietnam has a ton of gold in-ground assets, let alone other minerals that the Kabul wanting to get their hands on. Even China was doing everything they could in the last 50 years to tap into their gold reserves as well. It's never spoken of, but the country sits on a ton of gold to back up their currency. This is why it's just as precious as Iraqi dinar. AJ on X. Posted 6:08 a.m. March 10, 2025. Iraq tells US stopping Iranian gas imports will cause electricity system to collapse. On Sunday, the head of the Finance Committee in the Iraqi Parliament, Atwan al-Atwani, sent a letter to the US government stating that stopping the import of gas from Iran will cause the collapse of the electricity grid system during the coming summer in Iraq, indicating the need to extend the exemptions granted to Iraq in this regard after they were officially stopped by the administration of US President Donald Trump. This came during al-Atwani's meeting with the US ambassador to Iraq, Daniel Rubenstein, and the accompanying delegation, according to the MP's media office. The head of the Parliamentary Finance Committee stressed the importance of this visit at this sensitive time and stressed the need for continuous communication to correct the course of Iraqi-American relations. The statement added that the meeting focused on discussing the US sanctions file and the impact on the electricity sector, especially in light of talk about the expiration of the deadline for Iraq to be exempted from importing Iranian gas. The statement also indicated that al-Atwani conveyed an important message to the US ambassador to his country's government, stating that stopping gas imports would have disastrous consequences for the Iraqi people, especially in the summer, as it would cause the collapse of the national electricity system due to the lack of any alternative at the present time. Al-Atwani said during the meeting that the Iraqi government is serious about achieving energy independence through several promising projects related to investing in associated gas for the purpose of using it in generating electricity and achieving self-sufficiency. But these projects will enter service in the coming years. Al-Atwani also called on the US administration to review the policy of pressure exerted by the US Treasury on the financial and banking sector in Iraq by imposing continuous sanctions on local banks. He pointed out that Iraq has achieved a qualitative shift in the policy of compliance and financial transfers, and despite that, we are surprised by collective sanctions targeting Iraqi banks without prior warning and without any declared justification or even notifying the Central Bank of Iraq about that. And this has created a major problem for us and affected the work and activity of the banking sector. In turn, the US ambassador expressed his understanding of what Al-Atwani had raised during the meeting regarding the energy and banking sanctions files, and promised to convey these messages to his country's government in the hope of finding permanent treatments and solutions that would achieve the interests of the two friendly peoples, noting that the import of natural gas is, until now, outside the sanctions system, according to the statement. AJ, last summer, Iraq had rolling blackouts, sometimes as long as 12 hours, even with Iran's natural gas. Lil Mizzy. So basically just more delays. AJ, maybe delays is if you believe the clickbaiters, but Iraq is just where it is. In this very moment, with or without the online BS, it is what it is. Surely AJ hasn't seen the article. I think it was from Majid. They're basically Iraq who'll be sourcing their gas from the Gulf. Sure, it was from Majid. I do recall reading it. Kathy, could this be one of the reasons Trump is going to Saudi Arabia, get Middle Eastern countries aligned and cooperating with each other to force Iran to comply, or is FAFO? Look around and find out. Nameless. I'm terrified of what this looks like going forward. I'm convinced the US will not allow for another exemption, which puts Iraq in a very tight spot in regards to energy. Things are getting spicy. Majid. Posted 6:28 a.m. March 11, 2025. Alert, alert, alert. Oil prices going down will push Iraq to reduce the exchange rate, meaning pay less in dinar to get $1. Brothers Technology Inc. Posted 6:24 a.m. March 11, 2025. Are we going to see the new rate in an imminent fashion, with BP signing the contract and the PM financial advisor saying the budget tables are ready for both of these things? The new exchange rate is required. Economists, low oil prices may push Iraq to reduce the exchange rate and reduce expenses. By Walter on March 10, 2025. Time 10th March 2025, 12:38. Economic Efforts News. Economist Nabil Al-Mami warned on Monday that the continued decline in oil prices will put the Iraqi government in front of difficult choices, including those that may include reducing the exchange rate to face financial challenges. Al-Masri told Efforts News that the government may have to take austerity measures that include the pressure of public expenditures and increasing non-oil revenues, noting that the oil market is suffering from a significant weakness at the moment, with a decline in oil policy that may include imposing tariffs on some countries such as China, Canada and Mexico, in addition to the possibility of cancelling the OPEC Plus agreement that requires reducing production by 2 million barrels per day. These expectations indicate further declines in oil prices in the coming weeks, which will negatively affect the Iraqi economy, he added. From Ragid. Moonsoon. In my opinion, BP won't sign without a new rate. They promised the budget tables before the end of Ramadan. Clock's ticking and oil is dropping. Exactly. Majid. Oh, this is awesome news. 5:32 a.m., March 11, 2025. They signed it. The rate is revealed to them. Zoom News. Iraq's Ministry of Oil signed a contract with British Petroleum BP on Monday to develop multiple oil and gas fields in Kirkuk, marking a key step in revitalizing the sector after a period of standstill, the ministry announced. Iraqi Ministry of Oil. Zoom News. Oil Minister Hayyan Abdul Ghani emphasized the ministry's commitment to maximizing the country's energy resources, which will contribute to increasing federal revenues. He highlighted that the agreement facilitated by the North Oil and North Gas companies will enhance national production and support electricity generation by expanding gas investments. Gregory, what's the new rate? There's no way that BP would sign any contracts with the 1310 rate. Mansa. Oil companies operate in USD or strong local currencies. BP operates in USD, GBP, or a stable local currency to ensure profitability. The current IQD rate, 1310 IQD per USD, would not be viable for large-scale investment due to inflation risks if Iraq wants foreign investment. Stand still and watch God make major moves for you. It's your time.